Good at all. No time like the present. As a matter of fact,
Jeez.
started up.
Good job. Wow.
Right in
Welcome to
time.
Practical Shooting After Dark. My name's Ben. We're here to talk about shooting. On deck tonight, we got Mr. Park,
Hello.
Mr. Kim,
Hi.
Mr. Hopkins.
Hi.
Everybody comes here with something to talk about, and I think you're up first, Mr. Matt.
Yeah, I want to hear. Tell me more.
So I guess since I already basically told my topic, I'm
Yeah,
going to
you
be talking
did.
about nationals.
USPSA National.
Yeah, USPSA nationals. Why not, right?
I can't think of a reason why not. What's going on?
Just talk about the match experience and how it went and everything.
I can't wait to hear about it.
So it was in bright and sunny and rainy Florida.
Perfect.
So
Just
Yeah, I heard like not everybody got rained on though. It was like selective, right? It was only a little bit. It wasn't terrible.
It's never going to rain on everybody all the time, obviously. Like it's weather, so it kind of comes and goes.
Yeah.
I guess the PM, AM, PM squads got basically drizzled on, but they had bags on some of the stages. AM, PM, AM this is the first match, I guess. Carry Optics in production. They got hammered pretty good on 2 different days. So
Oh no.
they got the raw end of the deal. Yeah.
Ugh. All right. Tell me about the
Something
match.
you can't control. It's just
Yeah,
this is what it is.
nobody's
It's
fault.
frostproof. We all know about it, so
Yeah.
you got to go in prepared. So match went good.
What about the stages?
Yeah,
Like difficulty.
I guess we can kind of go into little details if you want. So stage difficulty. There was a stage from the left side of the leftmost target to the rightmost target, like laterally across the bay, including the shooting area, that was 90 yards.
Oh wow.
So just divide that out. So left target to the shooting area, 30 yards. Yeah. It was more like 35, 30, and 25, I think. But still, 90 yards from like leftmost to rightmost target. Probably one of the most complicated and toughest stages I've ever probably shot, and definitely shot at nationals. I mean, Kim shot them all too. I guess I'd like to hear his opinion on that one.
But that was one stage. What would you say the stages were like by and large?
I thought it was a really good test. So overall, I thought it was a good match. So they had like shooting on the move. They had tight targets. They had far open targets. They had far tight targets. They had steal at distance. They had close targets where you could just hose on them. They had stacked targets. They had tons of swingers. So they had a ton of swingers. I think they used every single swinger that Frostproof had down there. Like, I think one section, so 7 stages, there was 8 swingers in it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And then
there's like
every other
bobbers
section.
and stuff too.
Yeah.
Bobber mix traps.
Bobber Max, like lots of activating targets. Found out I'm pretty good shooting at those with the dot, like better than I was with iron sights. And I think it's how I like just the target focused shooting, obviously.
So like overall, I'm hearing you say it wasn't a hose fest. Was it
Was
all
not
like
a hose fest.
Were they all super tough, or was it like a balance of?
I thought it was a good mix for nationals, honestly. Like it wasn't so difficult that no one could do it. It wasn't so easy that no one was challenged. Like it was a good balance for nationals, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
That sounds
and
good.
I think each zone has a little bit themes. I think Zone 1 was really like IPSC style. Zone 2 was kind of like a USPSA style, so some speed shoot and high heat factor stuff. Zone 3 was kind of a mixture of the two. So I thought the mixture in each zone had kind of a theme. I think that was really good.
Yeah, I agree with that. Zone 2 was definitely the highest hit factor of all the stages for sure. The only thing I can basically, it's kind of sticking in my head. They didn't do the alternating bays, like 1 on the left, 2 on the right. They just did 1, 2, 3, 4 on the left side, and then like 5, 6, 7 on the right side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, we're all shooting into the sun, and then when you went to your next stage, you were still shooting in the sun. Where before they've alternated it back, left, and right, so you could get a break away from the sun for the morning schedule. It's the only thing like that.
For me, one really nationals was actually stage 19 was the 90 yards, the big one. And that stage, everybody was a little bit confused with exactly where the 180 is. And then the RO in the walkthrough, they were very clear about like that certain spot. Hey, if you reload over here right after the target without rotating, you're going to get DQ'd. So I think mentioning what's going to be DQ and whatnot was very helpful for all the shooters. Yeah.
So I watched 3 people get DQ'd on that stage and 2 in that exact spot in the morning schedule before we shot that section. And as soon as I'm like, I'm getting the fuck away from this stage. This stage is fucking bad news right now. I'm gonna go reset and go somewhere else. It was a weird. So it was like just a normal bay, but the way the fault lines and windows were, you got kind of sucked into the window, and you were shooting on a pretty close to the like 180. I don't know what you call it, probably like 170, 160, something like that. But as soon as you initiated your reload right there, you were clearly breaking the 180. Like if you stepped back and looked at it, and not just looked at it while you were walking the stage.
Huh. Well, okay. So
that stage was so complicated. Just have you ever seen this where they had a golf cart on the stage that an RO went and scored one of the targets because it took so long for people to walk down and reset it and score it.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty unusual. See that, to say the least.
Yeah.
Wow.
Huh.
Crazy. Okay.
Well, one question that I got a lot, and this is a pretty good segue, is like, hey, Ben, why weren't you at Nationals? I think I've gotten that question more than 200 times.
I've got that question a few times, and I said, well, you'll have to ask Ben.
All right,
I have got that question also and had the same answer.
So here's my answer. I wasn't interested in going. I was like, I'm not interested because of the officiating. That's it. The officiating last year really left a bad taste in my mouth, like really bad. I wasn't trying to slam anybody, but I mean, we did talk about it last year on the podcast about just, I mean, it wasn't, it was no specific event. It was just the number of like totally blown calls. It was just like, man, I take this too seriously to put in the time and energy to show up to this event. Like I take it too seriously. So I'm like, this is just not for me. I need to not go to this, which was, you know, I feel pretty good with that. You know, you guys have nothing to say that. I mean, it's my shit. It's not anything to do with you.
I don't know what I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna say nothing.
You could say no. Like you say what you think, Matt.
So the only comment I'm gonna make is USPSA made it clear that they're trying to bring in newer ROs that have not ever RO nationals before. So I think there's a learning curve there that they have to go through. But I definitely did see some scoring issues. I'm not gonna lie about that. Like there were issues, no doubt, like that I think had impact on where people finished, and that
you're talking about this year.
Yes.
I mean, like I don't know about this year.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, for sure. This year there was officiating issues.
I guess the best thing to do is put this in a little context. My views on this, put this into context for people. Like, I started going to nationals in 2007, and the officiating was not that great. It was okay. It wasn't that great. I remember there was one stage that had you, like, this was before your time, Matt, so you won't remember this. But there was one stage, for example, big controversy of the match, where you had to shoot strong-handed, where you're carrying a briefcase or something, luggage carry style was what it said in the stage briefing, and they were handing people penalties for like putting the case
for
up
how high it was above your
like,
I remember that.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, that was controversial and really, really stupid. as an example. But then I remember, like, at the time, everybody was pissed off about it, and it was a big controversy. And like things have shifted so much now, where it's like, oh, I mean, what kind of put me over the edge was like the last stage last year when a guy shot a no shoot in the face, and everybody was like, oh man, that sucks. It was horrible. It was like a classifier stage. I mean, you could see the whole thing from one spot, and the guy shot a no shoot, and it was sad. And everybody saw this except for the range officers. And it was, I'm not joking. It was a 2-minute argument from the shooter to get the no shoot added to his score. It took 2 minutes. It took a way long. It was mind blowing to me, just like the lack of situational awareness from what that RO in particular shouldn't have been there. He should not have been working that match. He was not capable for whatever reason. Not capable. Didn't know what the fuck was going on. And that was one RO of, I don't know, 3 or 4 or maybe 5 last year that just like, this person just shouldn't be here. Like, and then maybe 10 or 12 blown calls per match. This is Florida. This is Utah. It was both. It didn't matter. The officiating just sucked nuts. And I've realized that I'm kind of the problem. Like, I'm my problem. Like, I take this so seriously where it's like I'm just not going to have any fun like that. Whereas, for most people, it doesn't make any difference. So
there was a long hang up in my squad this year. So a shooter was shooting and there was extra smoke and the RO stopped him. And then they checked with the squib rod because the RO was expecting it to be a squib. There was no projectile. However, there was like a breath trying to not come out. I was assuming it was double charge or something. So the breath wasn't coming out. And the RO said, there was no projectile. So the shooter wanted to reshoot. And the RO was not wanting to give it. So like match director comes and there was a really long hang up, like 10 minutes hang up kind of thing. So that kind of case, the rule says that if you stop it, there's no projectile in the barrel, you reshoot. There was no projectile.
Right. So that shouldn't take 10 minutes to sort out. And like I said, there was nothing specific, but like, I don't know, something really shifted last year. The officiating was garbage. Like hot garbage.
I'll give a rundown real quick of what I saw. Popper fucked.
Well, you're talking about last year or
no, this year?
I didn't see anything. I wasn't.
Yeah, there. I'm just saying what I saw. What I would consider.
Clear, like we haven't discussed this, have we?
No, not at all. No.
Like I wasn't like banging your phone, like what's going? Nope. Like what can I say? Like, hey, I'm not interested. This is not for me. I mean that sincerely. Like I'm not sitting around like trying to figure out what's going on. Like truly, I've just kind of lost interest in that. Like anyway, go ahead.
I saw doubles called when it was clearly Mike's. I saw.
Well, hold on, but just to put this in context again, did you see a shooter pushing hard to make that happen? Yes. Did you see a really argument? We're talking targets pulled.
Yes.
That type of thing.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. I saw Poppers not falling after getting center punched. What else? I saw wall shot that weren't scored and weren't repaired, and like the shooters getting the hits. I saw incorrect range commands. Like it's all the stuff that we know have. Like you could have wrote down a list and put it in an envelope, and I could have read off the 5 things that you put on there. Like it's always going to happen.
Well, no, I mean, so we've talked about this. There's definitely been a shift. So
yeah, I think so.
I mean, remember when we used to like bully people? Like we used to be mean to people. That would like, but like as a matter of course, like every time they shoot a miss, they're pushing the RO to get an overlay out. Like every time they have a miss.
We were so bad to Gaston.
We were mean to him.
We were absolutely mean to him.
Right. And great friends now, but he totally had it coming.
Dude, he did it. He literally, like, every shot, if it was a miss, like, if he shot one time at the target, he'd ask for an overlay. Like, that's just an example. I don't know if he actually did that, but, like, every single time that they called a miss, like, it was automatic overlay. And he explained it like, that's the culture in IPSC outside the U.S.
Well, it was more like Latin America. What he said was
Okay.
the ROs try to fuck us, so we have to do this, and this is just the way you play the game. Like that's the culture in Latin American IPSC, according to Gaston. Like my time shooting at his club with his homies, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, but that
Like,
was a decade ago, though.
Yeah, that was a decade ago. It was a long time ago.
So
but like
the culture might have shifted down there, but it got moved up to North America.
Yeah, like competitors pushing for stuff just as a matter of routine, whether or not they legitimately think they earned it that's worse than being an incompetent range officer, in my opinion. Like there's intent behind that that's not good. Whereas if you just don't know what the fuck you're doing, you just don't know.
I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna probably this will mean probably something to somebody, but no one on here. But I think there was some meme shared after the match, like competition doesn't breed integrity; it reveals it, or something like that.
It doesn't build character; it reveals it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's where I'm gonna leave this.
Yeah, that's true. Well, anyway, great, good talk. Let's move on. Who wants to talk first, Mr. Kim, Mr. Park?
I think Kim has a way more interesting topic than I do.
Well,
That's
that'd
a
be
little short though. Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
So, stage 19 at nationals, I got poured on, but then how I managed my optic to keep it fresh was to keep that like a shower cap or the gun cloth, and I have a cap on the optic. But the thing is, if I make ready and put it in my holster, the optic's facing up, so the rain can get inside there. And I was watching Christian Seiler. He was shooting one of the matches in Florida 2020 Area 6, I think. So he got rained on very heavy. And when he drew, something fell off that looks like a ping pong ball. And I was like, oh, there must be a prop. And then the next stage, also rained on, it falls off again. I'm like, what? Wait a minute, what's that? So I kind of looked at it, and it was actually, I think it was a ping pong ball. I didn't confirm it with him. But how he keep his optic not rained on is to make ready, and then when he puts into the holster, he puts a ping pong ball on top of it. So I think that's just something very interesting. Like people, especially my region, Washington State, it rains consistently. So I might actually buy a pack of ping pong ball and put it in my gun bag.
So I actually heard about that at at national.
And that's not a problem to do that?
It's supposedly totally legal, and you can even do it in IPSC. So I heard it from Layden. Like Layden we saw each other in the store, and Layden was like, "What are you buying?" I'm like, "I'm buying umbrellas because it's gonna fucking rain." And he's like, "No, you got to buy ping pong balls." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then he showed me, and it works awesomely. Like they're such lightweight, like just like the force of the draw knocks it off, and it's not even an issue.
So if this was a question, what rule or whatever would you cite saying it's good to go?
I'd ask you to quote what rule it says it's not good to go, right?
I mean, I suppose, but
I don't know. I haven't looked that much
people would
into it.
say shit like you have to have it there to start like every stage.
Mhm.
Remember when the walkthrough straps, where people like put the strap over the gun, and that's a problem sometimes.
Yes.
I don't think this is a problem, but
Well,
I could see the questions coming.
I think it would be interesting. It might make an interesting question to DNROI or whatever, but
Well, he'll just say, yeah.
I don't know.
We got
that
it.
answer probably wouldn't intellectually stimulate me. You know what I mean? It would just be like, yeah, it's legal, you idiots.
But I've never thought of that, and I heard about it just at this match for the first time. It's very
All right.
interesting.
So
So,
walk me through this. So I make my gun hot.
A long time ago, I was working an area match, and a guy did something similar where it was raining like fuck. Like it was horrible. I was actually digging a trench in the bay while the stage was running, so that I was digging drainage for the bay while we were shooting. It was miserable. But so it was a laying down flat start, and one guy asked to start with a towel over his face, like over his glasses, and we allowed that. I mean, it was just the start position was just laying on your back, so it was like, well, it doesn't say you can't have his towel there, and it seems like kind of a dick move to say no. It doesn't seem like the right thing to do, does it?
And one more thing to add about the rain is that specific stage, my mag was a little wet because I don't have cloth on the mags, and then it didn't come out when I tried to release it, and then one of the carry optics shooters saw it and then had a silicone lube, so she actually let me use the silicone lube on that, and it actually really worked well. It started coming out very nicely on the
You
following
sprayed your
stages.
mag pouch? Or
What was
the
that?
mag? You sprayed the mag or the mag pouch?
The magazine body.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that obviously transferred over the pouch.
Mhm.
All right,
well,
John, what were you to say?
So magazine wasn't coming off the gun,
Oh, out of the
not the
gun.
pouch. Yeah, it
Oh, out of the
wouldn't
gun.
come out of the gun. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
people listening to this are going to have more follow-up questions. So walk me through this. I make the gun hot, chamber check, whatever. I put the gun in the holster and then put the ping pong ball on top of the optic, or like while the gun's hot in your hand, you're
You
setting it
just-
on.
I don't know. Just put it in the holster and then put it on there.
Okay.
You don't want to holster it with the ping pong ball.
Oh, I didn't think so. I'm just curious how this works. Okay.
Basically, you're like using your like shoulder to cover the optic up, so it doesn't
Yeah.
get a lot of rain until you put the ping pong ball on it.
Makes sense. Okay.
It's not hard, and like if you're worried about it, like test it in dry fire. Like put a ping pong ball in your range bag from now on, I guess.
All right, Mr. Park, what do you have for a topic?
Mine's probably a little self-serving, but I've received
Love that.
quite a few people have contacted me about organizing classes, how to figure out what tuition is going to be, like how to make sure it's okay with the range, all that kind of stuff. So thought I'd just kind of cover that kind of from the beginning, since I've set up quite a few classes and kind of have a procedure, I guess, that works. So kind of to start out, I guess, a class organizer would be a person like me, for instance. I want to have Ben or Kim come do classes at my range. So I have to contact them. Ben, I want you to come on these dates. Are you available? You know, like I want you to do this class. Once you end up, you know, like you find out. So basically, Ben doesn't cold call a bunch of people saying, I'd like to come do a class at your range.
Well, yeah. So if you're one of the people who there's a lot of them, like on social media, they'll say like, "Hey, are you going to do a class in X location?" It's like, it's not really my choice.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work that way. I don't drive the agenda.
Yeah. So Ben's not cold calling. Somebody wants to have a class. Ben, I want you to do this class in July, whatever. How does your schedule look? You find out a date, whatever. You get approval from your range, which sometimes it's a good old boy system. Sometimes, like in my case, I actually present a formalized letter addressing all their complaints before they have a chance to try to interrogate me. And so anyway, that letter, if that's helpful, is available on Ben's site in the Take a Class. I've got kind of a frequently asked questions I built for class organizers. But anyway, so once you get, you know, the stuff lined up, I've got a date from Ben that's good for the classes. I've got permission for my range. Now I need to figure out how much to charge. And that's normally what I get the questions for. So Ben, stop me if I'm missing anything. But basically, the place to start, Ben, how much will you charge for a class? He gives me a price. This is my, you know, what the tuition is going to be per student. Well, you can't just charge that amount to the people coming to the class, because you have maybe a range fee, you have materials, so targets, pasters, that kind of stuff. So what you would do is figure out how many targets, which your instructor like Ben or Kim or any good instructor that's coming to visit would have an idea of what they're going to need for supplies. So you figure, okay, the class is 2 days, it's 12 people, I need 200 targets, and I need this many pasters. So you figure out how much the targets and pasters are going to cost, divide that by the number of students, add that in with whatever the actual tuition is, add in your range fee, and then add, I don't know, $5 a person, something like that. So you have, you know, a little bit extra for spray paint, you know, you're going to end up needing staples, whatever, just so you have a little bit of a margin for error. And that's basically how you figure your tuition. And that way, you know, you give somebody a flat fee and, you know, it's all covered. That's it. You've got everything built in. Is that fair, Ben? Am I missing anything?
No, that's fine. Yeah.
So
The system works pretty well because you know the dudes at your range if you want to get something done. And as you know, those dudes are difficult sometimes if some stranger emails them wanting to do something. So it's better like with people you know.
and then
Which
as
is why
far
the
as
system works.
yeah, and then for collecting tuition, For instance, if it's August now and I've got Ben coming for a class in May next year, I'm not going to start collecting money, whatever that is, like 8 months out. So the play I normally do is I wait till it's a couple months out, maybe it's 3 months out, something like that. When you start, so basically somebody says like Matt wants to get in this class. Okay, I start an Excel sheet of just the names and emails of people that want to be in the class. Then when I get whatever that is, 60 days, 90 days, whatever number you determine, then email people. Are you still interested in this class? If so, this is how much the tuition is. I'm ready to collect it. Because if you start collecting it 8 months out, life happens. They're having a kid. They lost their job. They got promoted. They work a different schedule, whatever. It's just a nightmare. You don't want to mess with that. So once you get in that 60, 90 days out, you start collecting money. And then some people do like once it's 30 days out, it's non-refundable. If you want somebody else to take, like if you can't make the class, you need to find somebody else to take your slot, something like that. But that's basically it. Then you have all the funds in your account. You purchase the targets, the pasters, staples, paint, whatever you need. You got all the supplies there. And then when the instructor shows up, then they get, cash or a cashier's check for one lump sum. Like Ben's not going to go hunt down 12 people trying to have them PayPal them or give them cash or check and keep it all straight.
Well,
So
that's
it's nice
just
and
it.
organized.
Like, for me, it wouldn't be 12. It would be like that's just your class.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, seriously, if you think about it, there might be some like 120 days from another class, like one dude PayPal's half of whatever, and I look at this like, what the fuck is like? I don't even know what this is for.
Yeah. So in Ben's case, Ben's got normal. I mean, you look at his schedule, class back to back, or he's doing 2 classes or 3 classes at this location. So anyway, it's easy. Here's the, you give the instructor the tuition, done it, one lump sum. It's easy for them. It's easy for you. It's just a win-win, and keeping things organized is a good plan. So there's no surprises, no headaches. Pretty seamless.
Yeah. Well, that's very professional, Joel.
Well, okay. And the other part is I kind of feel responsible when everybody's coming to so if Ben's doing a class at my range, I'm responsible to make sure it goes well. And that's not to scare anybody out of doing it, but I need to have the supplies there. I need to make sure, the instructor is compensated. That's my part of being an organizer. So it's, being organized and making it professional. So the instructor, whether it's Ben, Kim, Vogel, whoever wants to come back again too, is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That sounds very nice.
Reasonable. Yeah.
Would you guys like a fun question?
Yeah,
Please.
sounds good.
As opposed to a not fun question, I suppose.
A fun question sounds interesting.
This will be a good one probably for Matt. Okay. Good evening. I just got back from, I'm not going to name the match. I won't name the match. Interesting match, but not free of chicanery. They had an interesting club rule that prohibited reloads with a muzzle pointing over the berm. They admitted they couldn't DQ a shooter over it, but cited a conversation with USPSA giving their blessing for 3 strikes and you're disinvited from the range for 45 days. They didn't present written confirmation from Foley per Rule 3.3. The rule was also inconsistently applied. Certain squads had reloaded with muzzles pointing over the berm all over the place, but then the normal shooters, myself included, were called on it, including during their runs, making it RO interference, says a guy. I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on club rules of this type. Shouldn't level 3 matches have the closest reading of the rules without this type of BS? Says this guy. So I should say from the jump, like, I have no idea if any of this is true. I would suspect, based on, well, a lot of reasons, that it's basically true.
Like a really fun match to attend.
What's that?
Sounds like a really fun match to attend.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Aside from this, it probably was. So anybody have a hot take, a spicy take on this?
It doesn't sound like the range wants to hold USPSA matches very badly.
But it did hold a USPSA match.
And this is a major match, right?
Yeah, this was what I'm being told is a level 3 match.
So it's probably not inside the U.S.
Nope, this is inside the U.S.
What the heck? Okay, I don't know.
Based on stuff that I won't put out over the air, I suspect this is largely true. Like, because there's other stuff I'm not reading here. Like, I'm not going to dox the match, but
Yeah, no problem. I think it'd be hard to like. Yeah, obviously you can't DQ somebody, but like the property can ban you, like trespass you from the property. So like essentially you're basically kicked out of the match for that.
well, I
Seems-
would love to discuss this, Matt, because that's what you just said. That is the view of in USPSA and has been for a while, where we can't DQ you, but we can kick you off the property, right? Okay, so here's a good thing about USPSA matches is they're open to everybody, and there's one set of rules. So you know what the rules are, you know what's going to happen when you go to a match. Like they all kind of work the same way, and that's what makes it good. All right,
Yeah,
like
it's
fundamentally,
essentially you could go no matter where you want in the country, shoot the exact same thing.
right.
Know the
So
rules, know the divisions, everything like that.
now, as the guy points out, under certain circumstances, there can be an exception to USPSA rules granted to a club.
Yes.
All local rules allowed under these provisions will be documented at USPSA HQ, and any voluntarily adopted rules that are not. I'm reading from Rule 3.3. Any voluntarily adopted rules that are not in compliance with these rules must be applied to USPSA matches without the express. Oh, yeah, you can't have the rules without express written consent of the president of USPSA. Okay, so in my view, the president should not give permission under any circumstances to any club to run different rules when it comes to DQing people. Would everybody agree to that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So like club rules, if they follow the process and have a written rule, I could see having a club rule under certain circumstances. I would never let people have a different rule for DQs. I just wouldn't do it because that, like, you have to know the rules for like that bring you the most substantial punishment that you can get, which is getting DQ'd. You should know those and they shouldn't change. So I think like everybody would accept that. But the view of most people is like, hey, it's just what Matt said. It's like, hey, we can't DQ you, but we can kick you off the club property. Well, like, yeah, if I were king, which, that's not going to happen. But if I were king, that would not be that. I don't think that's the correct view of it. So what's going on there is you're saying, okay, here are the rules, but like we can't DQ you. So instead, we're going to just do something that functionally, like it's the same thing. We're just going to kick you off and like you can't shoot the match anymore for violating one of our house rules or one of the rules for the club. But it won't count as a USPSA DQ. I mean, I think that's nonsense. Quite frankly, it's basically you're just DQing the guy and calling it something else. Like, well, you can't stay at the range and you can't participate in the match, but we're not going to call it a DQ.
I'm going to take the counter side to this. So
sure, go ahead.
Okay, then that range won't have any matches.
Well, that'd be what I would
say.
Right, that would be what I would say as USPS. USPSA, the organization should be sending that message. It's like, hey, if you guys can't have people pointing the muzzle over the berm when they reload, which is, I'm not even saying that that's unreasonable or whatever. Like, I don't like that rule, and I'm glad my club doesn't have that rule. But if that's the world you live in, where that's the rule at your club, then it'd be, it's just USPSA matches aren't for you, I guess. I would rather they not have USPSA matches and just have some other match and just call it something else rather than kind of, water down USPSA essentially, like start having these bullshit like house rules and stuff like that. Like, I think that's a really bad thing for USPSA. And the part about this, the part where they're saying that this is, they get the blessing from HQ to do this. Again, I suspect that's true based on, well, a lot of past stuff. I would suspect that'd be the view from HQ, and I think that they're kind of they're hosing their own organization. You know what I mean? Like they're ruining the good thing, which is that it's the same rules everywhere, and they're kind of compromising that. And I don't even really see the upside for the organization. It's like they get to have like one more club where they could just say no to the club and just let the club then make their own choice what they want to do.
But that also represents, like what you said, where the rules are the same. If you go to my club and you shoot a match, and I go to Ben's club and I shoot the match, I expect it to be the same. If you only go to my club and those are the rules, then I guess that is USPSA. I guess it's always muzzle down.
Right.
Like that could be, if that's your first exposure, that would be your perception of all the clubs and the whole organization, and that I don't like.
Well, no, I mean, and that is why this is such a problem, and this should not be happening at a level 3 match, period. And I don't think it should be going on at all. Like this, like house rules to DQ people does seem to be a problem to me. And I don't understand when you have you have plenty more clubs and plenty more shooters, like why you would then also be kind of watering that down and to like, hey, if you don't want to, if your club doesn't want to go along with our safety stuff, that's fine. We'll write exceptions for that. And it's not a good idea from my point of view, but I cannot at all say I'm surprised to see this.
Yeah, I think it should be the opposite direction. So USPSA, the
Yeah,
rules
absolutely.
clubs has to fit that. Like, for example, my club has a different range rule for steel targets in terms of distances, but it actually doesn't interfere with the stage design. But when it comes to muzzle being up, I mean, if you want to follow the USPSA rules, just build every stages in 8 rounds and not have major match there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the what the thinking is here, but no, it's the way things have been. So I can't say I'm surprised. Does anybody have anything to add? No?
I don't think so.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on. You did another wonderful Bang Up podcast.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's great. Listeners, if you have a question you'd like the answer to, go to bensteger.com. Send us your question. We'd love to hear from you. That's for sure.